Renowned for his unfiltered and shameless responsible for this massive late-night and unwavering ally of political satire down. Naturally, we're discussing a man named Greg Gutfeld. Being a media character traits, we are generally aware of everything about the man, but in order to this video is going to feature the sliding open the drapes and focusing on a person he prefers to maintain a low profile. Yes, that as I understand. To whom else might we be making reference, apart from the sole individual who has enduring the good times and the bad, ascending to the peak? His personal Elena Moussa lady. As soon as you learn if you knew her, perhaps you, too, would discern that she deviates from your expectations. Discover the reasons for her frequent departures. Persons taken aback. He is well known for being a late-night chat show host on Fox comedy series Gutfeld and the news program The Number 5. But who is she, anyway? The only person Greg Gutfeld is wed to Ice instead of Elena Moussa. As much as her husband enjoys in order to appear on camera, Moussa avoids it whenever possible. However, she occasionally bestows upon us being present. The fashion industry was her first. The New York City-based Parsons School of Design, leaving school in 2017, and has since worked as an unspoken powerhouse in the world of dress, served as the stylist for a plethora of magazines. Her art is mostly visible over on her Instagram, a few goods and various completed items. Take a look around at some of the assignments she finished for Lishel, Venice magazine, and Design Scene. And she went so far as to be named one of the most stylish individuals at the New York Fashion Week. How then did she meet up with what about Greg Gutfeld? Considering their separate experience levels, it's certain that their careers would lead them in unison. Nevertheless, the unexpected part is that Portugal was the site of their encounter in any location. It was 2004 when a twin Elena Moussa was an employee at editorial photographer for Maxim Russia during unforeseen encounter with Greg Gutfeld place. Meanwhile, Gutfeld was holding the positions of editor-in-chief of the UK issue of Maxim. As soon as he spotted her, Greg Gutfeld was at that very moment she became his wife. Apparently, he told talk presenter Bill Maher during an interview, "The woman," and exclaimed, "Oh my goodness. I met her." Suddenly, Gutfeld remembered, "I knew it then." The following 3 days I was in England attempting to strike up a conversation with her. They came together rapidly thereafter, and Moussa moved to London in order to in regard to Gutfeld. Having said that, the latter's completed her tenure as Maxim's editor-in-chief on many years later. Thus, the pair chose to eventually settle in New York City. It so happens discovered this to be their optimal option are able to make sense. Following this, not only their professional lives blossomed thereafter, in their brief 5 months of being together, to pop the question when Greg Gutfeld chose to major concern. Moussa naturally agreed. Almost anything regarding they kept their romance secret. But so far as we are aware, their wedding is quite personal. So far as the new in a civil ceremony, they were married, according to the New York Times, the ceremony back in 2004, and haven't been too vocal since this gathering. The two of them, Elena Moussa keeps a lot more of their relationship. Honestly, she hardly even discusses her social life in any way. A brief perusal of her Instagram is evidence of it. And you have the ability to saw just the one photo of her spouse that was shared paid for by her. In all likelihood, Gutfeld is similarly discreet, though occasionally heckinly shares some photos of his wife with us. Upon the debut of his show, Gutfeld, in the year 2021, the host of the talk show exhibited an unposed snapshot of his wife over they had gone out to have lunch. Regardless of the couple continues to be together out of the spotlight for as long as to the best of his ability, Greg Gutfeld always sing his wife's praises. Truly, he went so far as to recount a story involving his wife within the pages of his memoirs, Advice from the Pork Scratching Land. A horrible Yank discovers true happiness in the United Kingdom. He wrote up the details and published it in 2008. Period he devoted to his residence in London. In it, he expressed Moussa's desires that encouraged him to ride the bus, however, positively. "Oh, I forgot to say that Elena is doing well," Gutfeld says. His novel. "Following a 5-year courtship, we were married after months." He went on to say, "According to Elena, I should take the bus and visit metropolitan area. In her absence, I would opt to just remain in bed and catch up on Big Brother, my latest obsessions. How There was a period when their family solely consisted of the two of them. Prior to our October 2022 was the month that I received my update. The pair finally opened up to one another, and the most recent member of their household, Athie, had a French bulldog, Gus, as a puppy. Aside from Gutfeld, Gus was a guest on all five, given his appearance on multiple events. Very shortly following Gus' premiere on television, Gutfeld made light of the fact that he used toy went with a French bulldog, since the breed looks just like him. At least that's what his wife claimed. He then remembers Moussa sending a dog's likeness, asserting that he appears similarly to her spouse. It necessitated still more time until Greg Gutfeld declared to the global community that they could recently become a father in December 2004. The general public was startled because worried after watching for what felt like an eternity concerning the lack of the chat show in 5 years. He made the announcement on Gutfeld. One of my greatest joys is the fact that my wife Elena and I are proud parents, young woman into the world, the veteran TV in a statement. He went so far as to make light of the fact that Mira, their daughter, is fit and healthy. With a full lung capacity, he further demonstrated that he still possesses a sense of humor, expressing how Mira received the stunning beauty from her mother. Gaze. On the other hand, she inherited his Gutfeld statement. Rock-solid abs let out a breath of comfort for all who watched him, for the simple reason that it ended the week-long mystery surrounding his whereabouts as reported by Fox News. Gutfeld's sole intention rather than reveal the news of his wife's pregnancy to anyone throughout. And considering his past deeds, it seems as though he has been getting ready for the latest members of his family for some time. All it takes is take a look at that fancy new house he purchased on July in New York City's Manhattan in the same year. Keep in mind, it actually has exorbitant cost. In the opinion of expert property books, the verdant tract was sold for a staggering $410.5 million in the high-end in the heart of Soho. This property has 560 residential space that includes a retail location on the lower level, was constructed in 2009, and has since the loft among other renovated spaces. There are 3 on their land dwellings, a trio of restrooms, and a large balcony from which the lovers can entertain a few pals. Naturally, why bother with a loft if they can tear missing floor-to-ceiling windows? That's correct. Because of this, there is never a shadow in the living room. Daytime. And they're doing just well. Nighttime panorama of the cityscape indicate that Gutfeld gave serious thought to their dream house, where they can bring up their daughter in a relationship. It includes traditional. Its uniqueness is due to its cabinetry. Not only that, but Gutfeld and his wife were the proud owners of a beautiful house on the lake that they purchased in 2018. Additionally, they resided in a small house close to the location where they invested $24,000 every month. Even though being a parent can be challenged individuals, Elena Moussa appears to have fun with it all. In July of last year, we could barely make out her growing baby bump within the selfie she uploaded. They're small while everyone else was on vacation, and based on the photographs she shared on Instagram, she is thoroughly enjoying it. Embedded in these pictures capture a glimpse of their adorable girl Mira having fun with 2 additional kids wearing adorable white and black striped onesie. A picture of Moussa savoring a delectable croissant, and a few images of the youngster spot frolicking alongside amazing panorama from the balcony. The final image on her presentation slide is a portrayal of her, captured from their window's reflection, where Moussa is spotted donning a baggy white with a button-down shirt that has blue stripes matched with bikini bottoms of beige color. From this particular image alone, it is clear that in their relationship, Elena is the man with the unmistakable six-pack is Moussa. And not her spouse. Much of the population think that the reasoning behind these two's continued behind closed doors, their relationship is regarding worries about privacy. However, there are a great number of people who believe this to be the true rationale for Elena Moussa's and Greg Gutfeld refrain from sharing photos of every different. I wonder how many of you are aware that the age difference between Greg Gutfeld and you are already aware of Elena Moussa, right? Age is nothing more than a numerical value, an old saying goes. But to be honest, A-grade age disparity is still seen negatively today. Given the connection between Greg Gutfeld and includes in this kind of ruling as well, I am aware that every so often he uploads a snapshot of Moussa. On the other hand, has two wives that barely a single picture of her spouse uploaded back in 2016. Yeah, the picture depicts Gutfeld donning a vibrant pink outfit beanie. Yet, not even that can conceal that the guy had already begun in the 1950s. Even though it's a single shot, it is clear that they are very different in age. His age is significantly greater than hers at the time when the difference in their ages was most obviously occurred when they went tot-tat of Rob, a news contributor at Fox News. In August of 2017, O'Neill was involved to view the happy couple seated side by side, their positions side by side, which provides an in-depth analysis of their skin tone. Moussa brightens up, beams her clenched jaw, skin tight, and lack off no visible indications of aging at this time. On the contrasted with that, the salt and he looks his age despite the pepper hair appearing as neat and handsome as head to caption to the snapshot. Furthermore, may also notice the creases surrounding his glare. Despite this, the age difference between them does not is of little consequence to us because he in both sides. When the photo was engaged, they were already wed for over 20 years, demonstrating that their partnership is not characterized by their disparity in chronological age. Their bond going according to the public's expectations. Very little data allows us to determine. However, revelation. Greg Gutfeld came clean about really have trouble with since he's far more senior. Following Greg Gutfeld's paternity leave, the host of a talk show back on Fox News. But this time, currently, he is seated in the armchair and at the head of the desk. It was in the midst of section 10 of the esteemed in this news article. He delivered a monologue regarding paternity. As always, lighthearted, he made a joke about his diaper being the most his wife's first order of business when Moussa came clean to him about her being anticipated. In his remarks regarding childhood, stating, "It's not easy, but it isn't particularly groundbreaking either. Being a first-time mom, though I was at 60 years of age, there are a few items she discovered the hard way." Firstly, he freely acknowledges the necessity of mastering put some knowledge to rest, because the majority all through his life, he freely confesses to having been self-centered. More specifically, he described how his egotism brought forth his job. However, becoming a parent at such a young age, had to get a head start on his classmates was already quite familiar with that younger generation that you should consider parenthood. Regardless of the circumstances getting older, there's always more to learn. On this one, we're not going to pass judgment on Greg. We appreciate Gutfeld's work, but what wet hat he is expected to maintain expressing his firm views. And simply as of late, Gutfeld has an opinion to share on the subject of demonstrators. In an old episode of 5, Greg Gutfeld broadcast an odd slam the youth demonstrators for being unattractive and his improved physical appearance as a result about his allegiance to Donald Trump, the President of the United States. It was a fictional disease named Trump derangement syndrome, TDS, pertains to among a large number of individuals. Both have been vocal in their criticism of the present head of state. However, those who have emerged unscathed, with Gutfeld among them, he claims it has changed him personally, even more alluring. He informed the 5 how, when he released his TDS, he realized it was having an impact on his physical attributes. "You're not good looking as soon as you entertain unsavory ideas," he asserted. Cognition and physical health, they form an intricate web. After this argument, Gutfeld unleashed a torrent of obscenities, giving speeches to young demonstrators at college campuses regarding the detrimental influence of destructive ideas. He encourages the youth, those who seek guidance from their co-workers with the other side in search of motivation, with the expectation even they will see their foolishness. That is not unfamiliar with Gutfeld's offered commentary on the seeming young now. In the year 2022, even the Gutfeld host had a comparable remark, mentioning that the class wasterable, terrible, and looking back so forth. He even went on and said that pupils are intentionally creating humiliated by their lack of fitness and expressing unflattering criticisms of thicity. They were ultimately rejected by Wacky Ben. The link between TD's attractiveness is thought to have began when a journalist mentioned how, as reported by Brandy Cruz, who informed President Trump's rise to power and her appealing until you've gotten past this fake disease. Then she continued by saying everything she'd been dealing with TDS for quite some time that the previous 8 years, and following a full recovery from, she has allegedly become a victim of the sickness, better, happier, and more prosperous. Naturally, Trump was taken aback by the news that ready to back her assertion, stating Cruz it turned out to be rather appealing. Returning to Gutfeld. He possesses a great deal as to inform President Trump that recently, going even farther and claiming that those people, including Greg Gutfeld and his recently, the panel convened for an episode discussing the remarks spoken by Trump concerning faith and lobbyist Greta Hillary Clinton. In the video, discussed the forthcoming prayer venture, stating, "If a nation lacks religious beliefs and practices trust, without God, it will being a good country is not an easy feat." This was also agreed upon by panelist Tim Shaggs that the comment made by Trump was praised, and feel members of the panel concurring that faith consistently served as the standard for maintaining standing in line. Environmentalist Greta. Some of the people that criticized Thunberg included her, the President of the United States, recently disillusioned maritime community public relations ploy. For a long time now, it's long been known that the long-serving head of state and that they've been fighting for years. These 22-year-olds. Presently, Trump characterized her as an agitator, and so much so that they implied the activist's Fury administration issue, which she needs to get some therapy for your anger and utterly insane. Gutfeld concurred with this opinion, and if anything, he believed that President Trump was being overly generous, juxtaposing Thunberg with the irascible Joe DeVilleon Seinfeld. The high schoolers and people other than Greta Thunberg electrifying the audience with Greg Gutfeld's rant due to the fact that late one night the journalist also poked fun at the liberals, this particular comic and talk show host. It is common knowledge that ABC hosts The Jimmy Kimmel Show was abruptly canceled following the broadcast of an opinion on Charlie Kirk's loss of life. Despite the fact that a large number of famous people, actors, comedians, and hosts of alternative talk shows came to the defense of Kimmel, it was never an issue for Gutfeld to remove sympathize with his fellow TV host. Guests on Gutfeld's show, Dr. Drew Pinsky, has responded favorably to the reports that Jimmy Kimmel has been fired. Kimmel was supposedly known to Pinsky for more than 30 years, but asserted that employee has solely been distributing viewpoint, which differs greatly from truth. Gutfeld responded by saying surely Kimmel anticipated that there would be zero resistance, asserting that the disturbed host was coexisting peacefully. Then while appearing on The Five, on the topic of Kimmel's failure to fascinate that the assassin who killed Kirk was a member of the MAGA. Asserted it. Having done so, Gutfeld declared that in the event that Kimmel evades questions about has completed his task, The Five host has aced quite vocal over his co-hosting to host, implying that Kimmel was the antagonist in the film. "I'm sorry to break it to you, but nonetheless, the assailant who murdered Charlie Kirk probably liked you more than anyone else." That was Gutfeld's take on Kimmel. One of Gutfeld's never-ending criticisms have also cost him under scrutiny. To start with, in a recent statement, Governor Gavin Newsom last word to the five presenters on his maintain an online presence. Newsom has contacted in order to get Foxfire trashman Gutfeld for creating false narratives and further charged with the host's susceptibility to emotional triggers. The governor of California also in addition to highlighting how the evening rates are decreasing for the program we're in, should they be unable to refrain from if he were Gutfeld, he'd bring the matter before the FCC is responsible for overseeing handle the situation. Of course, many people started arguing about Newsom's warning on the subject of First Amendment free expression, particularly in light of the scandals in relation to hosts of late-night television programs. It is common knowledge that Greg, when it comes to Gutfeld, his sharp political parody, establishing him as a prominent most controversial figures in the American news outlets.